Hello everyone and welcome back. In this video, I'm going to again talk to you about the Baker Act. We're filing anywhere between 200 and 250 cases every single year. We normally have 2 or 3 cases pending at any one time somewhere in the state of Florida for people who have been illegally detained under Florida Statute 394, which is the Baker Act. And having had my own family member Baker Acted a couple of years ago and been there when it all happened, my heart goes out to all of these families who are dealing with this stuff. But there are lots of issues to do, that come up with the Baker Act. One of them has to do with how do you actually know if your loved one's really Baker Acted? Now, sometimes the hospital or the facility will tell you they've been Baker Acted, but sometimes they don't, right? They're either the hospital doesn't want to tell you, or the receiving facility doesn't want to tell you, or they're just ignorant, right? And they just don't know the law, okay, which happens a lot. So here's the test. Is your loved one actually free to leave? Can you go to the hospital or can you go to the facility and take them with you when you leave? If the answer to that is no, I cannot take them out, then they're Baker Acted, okay? They're Baker Acted. And I don't care what the hospital tells you. Oh, they're just here for observation. They're just here to be medically cleared. They're just here so we can get them stabilized. They're just here so we can finish the assessment. If it looks like a duck and it quacks, it's a duck, okay? If they are not free to leave, then they're Baker Acted. And honestly, it doesn't matter what the hospital tells you. I'm telling you what the reality of the situation is, okay? So I say this because a lot of the time, families say, well, the hospital's been really nice to us. The staff have been nice to us. The doctor's been nice to us. The nurse has been nice to us. The hospital and receiving facility staff are not there to be your friend. And they are not your friend, okay? Because if they were your friend, they let your loved one leave. They're there to represent the receiving facility, okay? And it's not just the receiving facility. It's actually the state of Florida. You see, the hospital, which may be for-profit and private in nature, the Baker Act facility, which may be private in nature and for-profit, is licensed by the Department of Health as an agent of the state's mental health system. And as an agent of the state, they can detain and lock up your loved one. But unlike in a criminal case, where if you get locked up, taken to the county jail because you've been arrested, nobody actually knows your loved one's there. Now, you might know, and if you call our office, we'll know. But what I'm trying to tell you is that in a criminal case, within 24 hours, you have to see a judge, right? To make sure the things are being done legally. Baker Act facilities don't report to anybody. Nobody actually knows that your loved one's there. And I mean nobody. Like, there's nobody watching over this thing. They don't report to anybody that your loved one's there. Even if it's a judge who initiated the initial detention. Once the judge signs the paperwork and sends it off to the sheriff to come and get your loved one, after that, the judge never sees the case again, potentially, which is why they don't care, right? The facility doesn't care because nobody watching them. And here's the icing on the cake. Because they're an agent of the state, absent some type of documented permanent physical injury, right? You can't sue them for this. They have sovereign immunity, right? So they really don't care because they know you can't sue them as a general rule. Now, there are exceptions to that, which I'm not going to go into. I've done that in other videos. But as a general rule, you cannot sue them for this. So they don't care. So if your loved one is not free to leave, that's it. They're Baker Acted. And I don't care what the hospital tells you. They're just lying or they're just ignorant, right? Because if they mention the magic words, they're Baker Acted, what are you going to do? Well, you're probably going to call somebody like me. Now, if they tell you they're not Baker Acted, well, they're not Baker Acted. I don't need to do anything. Yeah, you do. You need to do something. Otherwise, they're going to get stuck there. And I can tell you that from all these hundreds of cases that we've handled, right? When a family does not take immediate action, unfortunately, the consequences can be significant and your loved one can get stuck for up to 6 months. I'm not telling you it's going to happen for 6 months, but I've seen it happen for 2 weeks, 30 days, 45 days, 60 days. I've seen that happen. So that's just my 2 cents. Those are the magic words. Are they free to leave? And if you have any questions about the Baker Act, post them. I'm happy to answer them. I'll even make a video for you. If it's a great question, why not? I mean, I want to get the information out to all of the families whose loved ones are Baker Acted. And if you like this content, please give me a thumbs up. If you want more of this content, which I put out every day, so you get the information you need about, not just about the Baker Act, but the behavioral health space, right? Please subscribe to the channel. And with that said, thanks for tuning in. See you in the next video. Bye-bye.